After holding design positions at designers' houses including Nina Ricci, Oscar de la Renta, Christian Dior under John Galliano and Raf Simons, he became creative director at Hervé Léger in 2018.
Our Danish-born and now New York-based guest launched his advanced contemporary brand named AKNVAS, which focuses on thoughtful, well-designed and innovative clothing for discerning and dynamic women and men.
In 2020, he won the Best New Women's Wear Designer Award at the Fashion Group International's Rising Star Awards.
And was named a finalist for the Fashion Trust Award just a couple of months ago.
A person who rarely wears black.
Welcome, Christian Juul Nielsen.
Welcome, Christian.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction.
So we're wearing black?
Is that true? You never, I can't remember you ever wearing black. That's.
I wear black sometimes. I always say black should be the last option because it's the easiest. So if you want to push yourself with colors, you should always think, what color can I possibly put? And then if nothing seems to work, you make it black, because black always works.
I feel like whenever I go for an event where there will be a red carpet, I feel like black, I mean, it's always chic and beautiful, but it sort of catches attention less for some reason. So whenever it is any color, it's more like festive and like more photogenic, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. It's not that I don't like black, I just think there's so many other options and it's fun to like try to push it.
Did you ever dream about becoming a designer?
You know, sometimes I feel like my life has just gone so fast and I've actually done so many different things in my life. And I guess in the back of my head, I always wanted to do my own brand, but I never sort of knew how to do it or where to start and begin. And I've always had jobs coming in relatively easy to me. So I've never really been pushed to do it. The reason I started it was I was working freelance in America for different places. And I sort of had the opportunity to do it on the side on my own and just start a small brand. And to be honest, I started out doing it mainly just for image. So that if people were looking me up, like that would be kind of, this is what I stand for, this is what I do. So I wanted like beautiful lookbooks that were created in a sort of North European, Danish vibe and somewhat minimalist clothes that felt relevant to me and to what I've done throughout the years. And so I started the brand a lot thanks to a lot of people wanting to help me, including Vlada. A lot of people helped me out in the beginning and a lot of people were very encouraging to me and saying, listen, if you want to start, I'll help you out. Like even we were talking about before we started that we were in the car once and I told you I'm going to start and you were like, I'll definitely support you and do what I can to help you get started. And a lot of people did. So I was like, you know what, I might as well try. This is the opportunity. And then the brand almost took surprisingly off. Like it's been going really fast and I'm super happy.
Why surprisingly? I mean, your background
Exactly.
I don't know. I mean, if you don't make it as good and successful, who will?
Yes, but the thing is, I'm only experienced in doing fashion design. I'm not experienced in doing human resources, contracts, sales agreements, sell-through agreements, find a location that can produce your collection.
But I mean, if your designs are great as they are, I mean, everything else, it's...
Oh, well, there are a lot of... I wouldn't agree. I mean, when I'm thinking about my acting career now and how I have to manage it all by myself because it's totally different. Like, I also have to think about... Even to find casting, like these small things, because in modeling I didn't have to think about it. My agent did it for me. Now I have to, until I get an agent, I have to do it all by myself. Like,
yeah, but you're managing your own career. He's managing the
whole product. I mean,
yes. But design is sale. Like if you have amazing sweater, you know, it's not gonna be so hard to find someone to buy it.
I can give you an example. For example, if this sweater, this is a cashmere blend, right? So you want it to be soft. So I may design this sweater in the silhouette and I may select a color and a quality I like. But if the factory, when they go into production, if they don't have the tension right on the knitting machine, the cashmere will be too tight and it gets less soft.
How do you choose that?
You can't be that much in details. It's about that you give as much information as you can and you sort of learn. Like when I was at Dior, I didn't know that the knitting, I wasn't a knit designer there, but like I didn't know that they had to communicate the tension on the machine and these sort of details. That's what you learn when you go into production and you're like, whoa, we need to re-knit all these sweaters. Now suddenly I have no profit on them because I have to double up.
Is that the hardest part?
Yeah, the making sure everything is good is really tough. And just the way that in the early days in my career, things always came back beautiful. So the thing is, I may have an idea and a vision about what I want to do, but I always say when people say, what's the biggest lesson for you? It's that you're never stronger than your team. You need to have people that work with you that understand what is the finishing I like. Why is it that sometimes I don't just want a slit on the side of a shirt. I like that one of them curves and the other one is straight, so it feels a little more pajamas. So it feels like it has a little more soul to it. These little things, if you have a team that understands your language and what you do, that's when it gets great. And that takes a long time to build up.
To get a good team is...
Yeah. And also for them to understand you and know what you like.
Do you, like, when you change companies, do you take your team with you?
No.
Assistants, no?
Yeah. I mean, I recommend people and I work with people from the past a lot of the time, but I don't sort of leave with everyone.
You have, not with everyone, I mean with the core. So you have to build a new team as good as...
Mm-hmm. And there's also a big difference with what kind of brand you work for. Like if it's a brand that's focused on day wear or evening wear, like it's different people are good at doing different things.
What do you like the most?
Me, at the moment, I really like, what's going really well for the brand is doing cocktail dresses.
Like the ruffle dress?
Yeah, the ruffle dress. And I like the play around that. And also how, challenging yourself and be like, remembering to go out and see how people dress and follow what are my girlfriends wearing and how do people look and what feels relevant right now. I like working on that because a cocktail party is such a sort of moment, because if you're going somewhere and you're getting a dress for it, it's because you really want to look great. So I think that's a fun category and it's what we do really well with.
Yeah, I remember Christian was celebrating his birthday once and he threw a party where everyone was wearing his designs. It was amazing. It was so festive and beautiful. It looks amazing on people.
Yeah, that was a really good party, actually. I just decided to do, it was my birthday and then we were like, let's make it into an AKNVAS birthday party. Mm-hmm. And then I just invited people I know in New York, and then lots of people came round and got dressed up for it. It was a really good night. But you inspired me for that, because you did some good parties too.
He's amused to many.
Yes.
So can you explain us about the name of your brand?
So AKNVAS. So the idea was a little bit that I had worked for all these different designers, and I felt like it was time for me to paint a new canvas, if you like. So I saw it as, first I wanted to call the brand Canvas, just thinking that you have a white canvas that you paint on. And then the idea was that I would paint something new every season. So the only thing is canvas, if you Google canvas, there's a million different things around canvas. So then I thought, how can I add something Danish to it? And now the idea of it is that it's a Danish person with a Danish accent, which I still carry with me, saying a canvas, like AKNVAS. So that's sort of the hard Danish accent is AKNVAS.
I really like it.
And I really like how it sounds, how it looks, the way you made the logo, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
How did you decide to become a designer? What inspired you when you were growing up to go that path?
Sometimes I get asked that. I think I was just sketching all the time. I was always drawing.
Since you were born?
Yeah, kind of thing. I was always drawing because we were talking about it earlier. I'm a middle child and my sisters were really good at drawing. But I think it's probably also just that when your siblings are 2, 3, 4 years older, they're just better at everything. And I wanted to be good and I wanted to be good at drawing. And I was looking at how my sister was drawing. So I started drawing a lot. And then little by little, I was the only one drawing in the family, but I was always sketching. And even now when I meet with my old teachers from school, not that I meet them all the time, but if we have reunions and stuff, they were like, you were always sketching. All your notebooks were full of drawings. It was sort of like almost like telephone drawings that I was always doing the same sketch of like women
Were they
posing. Supportive? Yeah, everyone was.
Do you remember what you were drawing?
Very 70s style, from what I remember. I remember I was always drawing profile faces and the girl standing with like bell bottoms. It was very much that again and again and again.
And then you decided to go and study it.
Then I did all the kind of bases before I did fashion. So I did tons of classic drawing, like live drawing with a live model in front of me to understand volume and sort of getting that down on paper. And then I spent a lot of time on pattern cutting. So before I went into creative school, I did all the technical part. And then I just started sewing on my own at home. My mom sews as well, so she sort of...
So foundation was really strong.
Yeah, I mean, there's nobody in fashion in my family, but my mom used to, when we were kids, she was sewing all our clothes. So I did all the like foundation things, like a lot of different art schools. And pattern making school was really a big deal. And then I went into... I studied at London College of Fashion.
When was that?
In the early 2000s, yeah.
And then short after you went to Paris to...
So while I was there, I really wanted to go to Paris, and I was obsessed with Vivienne Westwood and Christian Lacroix and John Galliano. Those were my three like names I always looked at. And so, yeah, true. Didn't even think of that actually. And so I contacted Galliano. And I spoke to a Danish girl there.
Did you know him before you contacted him?
No, I just called. I knew somebody French who knew somebody in the reception kind of thing, and I called them up and they said, well, I was like, are you looking for interns? I really want to come intern with you. And they were saying, well, sometimes we have interns. It's not really something we use. It's more, if somebody needs it.
Did you call to Galliano or do you work with Galliano?
It was, I think I was calling, it was a Danish designer who worked for Galliano, but Galliano was doing Dior as well. And at the end of it, I couldn't really get any answers, and I didn't have so much cash. So I bought a single ticket to Paris.
One way.
Like, I just need to make this work. Yeah. And I went in for the interview, and I hardly knew Paris, but then you both know Avenue Montaigne, which is sort of the street where all the fashion houses are. And I had my portfolio. It was an iPad. It was like all my sketches. And I think I'd been working a lot on an illustration project just before that. So that was all new and fresh in my book. And I went into, the Dior building to like the main office. And I remember I came in and this lady comes towards me in like a big kimono and a flower here. You probably remember Elisa.
Probably, I do
Elisa
remember,
Palomino.
yeah.
She was very like involved. And she had a big flower here and red lipstick, a little bit on the teeth. And like, I just remember like looking at her, very eccentric. She's actually Spanish. But yeah, a lot of Galliano's team was very international. And so she came, and then the Danish girl came, who was like a little bit more rock chick kind of thing, like with messy hair, no makeup, but super high heels. And then I just started showing my book, and they were like, oh, when can you start? I was like, wait, what? Wait, what? And I remember they were like, yeah, let's just start, this is good. And I remember like just running down Avenue Montaigne and like trying to find a phone box to call home, like, Mom, I'm not coming home. Like, I'm gonna. So I got the internship. And then I was supposed to just stay for a month with Galliano out in have you guys been to the Galliano studio in the 20th?
Yes.
Remember there was Dior and there was I was supposed to just be out there for a month. And then I remember I said to Elisa, the girl with the kimono, I was like, I really want to work on couture. Like, I really think it's what I should do. And she's like, oh, but the next thing is this commercial collection. I was like, I think I should try this. And I said, she was like, well, why don't you stay a little longer? And I was still in school. So I called in London. So I said to my school, can I stay longer? And they were like, well, no, you have to come back and do your projects. And so I got the Galliano team involved, and they convinced them that I could do all the school projects and they would look over what I did. So during the day I was at Galliano, and at night I was doing all my school
They really
projects.
wanted you.
Well, I really wanted it too. I didn't go out then. Honestly, I go out more now than I did in my student years. And so I ended up staying 6 months. And that was how I got to do couture and really get into it. And basically, they would just give me projects and I would just do it.
Was that work for couture what you expected to be?
Yeah, that was at Dior under Galliano was really how I thought couture would be, yes.
It's like a fairy tale.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have both seen it. It is even, I'm sure, like when you come in for castings and fittings, it's just level up, right? I remember we would roll out paper when the girls would come because the dresses are touching
Yeah,
the
and we
floor.
were walking on
The
square,
The
yeah.
square,
Yeah, so they
yes.
can see it from every angle.
Yeah, there's so many videos of all
Yeah.
this on YouTube.
And is it true? I remember I've been told that at Dior they had a color palette for every girl. Like, for example, my color palette was like pink, like blush, like, and
Per season.
most of the time. I mean, like they knew that pink looks good on me, so most of the time they were like.
You would get something with pink.
I can't remember. I think Steven told me about it.
No, it's very possible because especially with Galliano, he had the girls that he loved and that he held on to. And that's why, that's how we knew each other as well, because it was the same girls that would come in. And when we did the outfit to girl kind of thing, it would always be like, she looks good in this kind of look. She looks good in this.
Yeah, because there was never like them deciding, they don't know what to give you. You come in, there might be a wait, but I always knew that I'm coming in, have a dress, it's fit on, and
I never thought about it, but now that you say it, it makes sense that it would be a lot of like, who's good at wearing that? Like some girls were really good with evening wear who could really like lift it.
yeah, like
and walk.
Magdalena, she was always.
Magdalena, it's like you could put her in a house and she would walk like it was a feather. You know, like there's just certain girls that were good at but I think also when you see that you look good in pastels with your eye tone and everything, I think it just became, okay, well, that's a Vlada look. And then we would always have the looks ready. Like now, Galliano is very good. I think Galliano really trusted his team. So whatever was prepared, like he would tweak things, of course, but everything was done in his spirit. So we knew that he liked Vlada in like pastel colors. So when you would come in and the thing worked, like there was no reason to change
So does he talk to you about that before? Or how do you figure out that he loves Vlada in pastel?
To be honest, I wasn't so involved with casting then. I think the reason that I knew a lot of, or like that I still know a lot of the girls, is because I was always in the back getting everyone ready to go in. Because a lot of the designers wanted to sit in there and just watch it. But I sort of, I don't really remember how it happened, but I guess I'm good at just getting on with things, and like if there was an issue, call the atelier and make things happen. And I also quite liked it, and I thought it was fun to see you guys every season, and like, you know, Vlada would be like platinum blonde, and then one season you were red hair. Yeah, so I enjoyed that part, but I wasn't so involved with the whole casting. I was involved with putting the looks together, like the lineup, and we did that at a very early stage, even in colors actually. But I didn't do so much of the model to outfit.
But you do it now.
Now I do it all myself, yeah.
And Christian, how did it change for you when Raf Simons came? There was a huge shift, right? In
Dramatically, to be honest, dramatically. It changed a lot, but in an interesting way. So with Galliano, I always had to drape. So drape is when you have the mannequin, the stockman in front of you, and you put fabrics up, and you put, you know, I worked a lot of surface decoration. So if these roses were the inspiration, then I would create roses with my team, and then Galliano at the time would be like, make this more grand, make it more, and then I would like add things to it and drape up things, like make the bustier different, these kind of things. So everything was very 3D with my hands. And then Raf came, and it was a completely change. But we were a small team. It wasn't like a huge team when he started. With him, I started right away. I remember that we were doing resort collection, and I wanted to work with him. I thought it was so interesting he was there, because we had 1 year without any official creative director, let's say. And so I remember I just went and knocked in his office, and I was like, should we start on couture? And he was like, yeah, but you're doing this and that. I was like, no. I said, I spoke to the direction, we can get started. And so with him, immediately I started sketching. He wanted to see everything sketched. And I did all my sketches for him like a walking girl.
Just what you loved sketching.
You do. What?
Just what you loved since you were little one to sketch, right?
Yeah. I actually think I worked with Peter Mullier, who's like he was sort of saying to me, maybe put some energy into your sketches so that Raf can envision the runway. So instead of having a front sketch like this, all my girls were sideways walking, because we always said, well, that's how people are going to see the outfits when they walk by. And that was, so I started sketching all the time and I was always very involved with both directors in the research, but the kind of research we would do from Galliano to Raf changed dramatically as well. Like John was about vintage and glam and, you know, the 30s. You could always throw in 30s images with Galliano. It always worked. And then with Raf Simons, it was all about how can we make it new? How can we make this modern? Why, like, you know, the directrice of Haute Couture would be like pulling her hair out when he was like, I want to do polyester gowns. She was like, poly what? But like, we did a lot of gowns in like Japanese fabrics. And that's also why when I started AKNVAS, I started to do a lot of Japanese fabrics. And that I learned from Raf.
Where do you find your inspiration?
You know what? In so many different places. I try sometimes. I mean, I feel like I look a lot at the people I worked for and how they did it. Where, for example, Raf was like, build up a lot of different stories and work into them. That way your collection gets rich and you have lots of different ideas in it. Whereas when we worked with Galliano, it was like, you know, this season it's Marie Antoinette. And then he would usually tweak it in the end. And so it would be Marie Antoinette and UFOs. Like he would bring that in later on. So there would be a twist to it, which is why it was always so special. But with Raf, it was more lots of different stories, and then you connect the dots later. And I think the way I work is more with the lots of different stories, because I think also because I have to be a little bit commercially aware in my collection, I need to have different categories that can do different things. Like I can't do a whole collection based on a pencil skirt, because I love a pencil skirt, but the thing is, in all fairness, we sell a lot of mini skirts. So regardless of whether pencil skirts are trending or not, you want to make sure that you also have what you need for the business to run. So lots of different places. I mean, I try to always look for something that comes out of Denmark. So my last collection was Hans Christian Andersen, the fairy tale writer. And so I did a lot around swans, from The Ugly Duckling and Thumbelina, which is a story about a little person that ends up in a lily. So
we know it.
We grow up on those stories, right?
Yeah.
We're still there.
Yeah, it's funny. Everyone knows the Hans
I'm
Christian
reading it
Andersen.
now with my son. We have like a special book that we got for his birthday, a lot of illustrations. So yeah, we're going through it.
So all the shoes in my last runway show was supposed to be lilies. Like where Thumbelina, I think at the end of it, she finds her own people.
Well, because actually there is, Christian was collaborating with Stuart Weitzman, right? Mm-hmm. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Stuart Weitzman?
Yeah.
Yeah, we won an award.
Yep.
A couple of weeks ago for best collaboration. Amazing. Yeah, so on my booty.
I used to sketch shoes. So I thought I will end up being I don't know, shoe designer or something like that. But yeah, so when you were talking about your sketches when you were little, I had my sketches in front of my eyes.
But
too.
Shoes are fun to sketch, right? Because you can so exaggerate the arch of the foot. I mean, what I did with Stuart Weitzman is I took their classic like booty, which is sort of like just a stretch booty that goes either above, like up to the thigh, or it's a little booty above the ankle. And then I was like, how can I make this very AKNVAS? So we made mini ruffles and draped all the ruffles around the boots. So they would give me the base, and then my team would like stitch on all the ruffles, and that's how they came together.
Are they going to store?
Yeah, they're on the website now. The ruffle boot is still not there, but we did a pump and a thigh-high boot, and they're on the website now. Almost sold out.
Yeah, well,
actually.
I'm surprised. Why? Are you a good designer?
No, they did well with the shoes.
So proud of you.
And Christian, so then after you worked at Dior, you decided to go to the States to work here, right? And you started immediately with Oscar de la Renta, right?
Yeah.
What made you come here?
It was a little bit of a crazy decision because I had already been in Paris for a long time, and I had I have my apartment there and my life and my friends and everything. But I always wanted to live in New York. I always wanted to try it. And in my head, I was going to go for 2-3 years at the most. Like I really saw it as being like,
Yeah, it was in my head too.
Right, I never thought I would stay here so long, and I'm still like,
I'm still here.
I'm like, am I still here? But yeah, the thing is, actually Oscar de la Renta had just passed away, and so they were looking for a design director under Peter Copping, and so I knew Peter Copping from Paris. And so he sort of knew about my work and what I did and stuff. And then, yeah, I came in to be the design director under him. So that was sort of the reason I moved. I've always wanted to work for Oscar de la Renta. Mm-hmm. It wasn't exactly what I expected it to be, but I still have in my head like exactly how I would do Oscar de la Renta. I think it's a house that has such a great sort of American story, and with him, also being like coming to New York and like making it. I think it's a beautiful story. I think there's so much.
And you are making it, and then you went also to J. Mandel, right? Mm-hmm. And then Hervé Léger as a creative director. And
then I did a brand out in Los Angeles, Land of Destruction.
I still have those jeans and I love them.
Yeah, yes. They're so good, right? Yeah. Yeah. One thing, I always make pants that are long enough for the tall girls because so many people focus on pants being shorter, and I think that's great. But if you can do jeans or pants that have a silhouette that look good if you hem them as well, then I'm always like, let's just leave them extra long. Also, there's short girls that put massive platforms, and then you just have the pants hanging out on top of it. So
I never had a pair of jeans to hang around.
I have those, so I wear these high heels. I have to wear high heels with those jeans, imagine.
I have one pair like that only.
And pants that Christian designs for AKNVAS also live there. I love that. I have 2 pairs. So good. And by the way, yeah, how do you deal with the feedbacks? Like how?
You know, especially now, recently I started working with a company on our e-com site. So we're getting a lot more e-com business and a lot of feedback on it. I find it very difficult to figure it out because I always say every person is different. Especially if you design for women, when you do, for example, pants, it's easy if you're like the small sizes 0 and 2, but even when you go to 4 and 6, which is still small sizes, the female body just changes. You get volume on the side, you get volume towards the back, some get more tummy, some gets, lower hip. So the thing is, you just need to try to find ways to make it work. So we have the pants you're referring to is what we call the O'Connor pant. And that's like the high-waisted pant with like double pleat. And on that one, I always say to girls, if people are asking me in advance, what size should I get? I say, take a size bigger than you normally would. I said, stop looking at that little label. The only one that sees that little label is your butt crack. So stop looking at that, put on your pants and look in the mirror and see what you look like. Because pants always look good when there's a lot of fabric and they can hang on you. Mm-hmm. And then another thing we're doing, which is the alien pants, is I have elastic around the back. I put a lot of elastic in my bottoms in general because I just think it makes it easy and I think it looks young and fresh. Like it gives a little bit something sporty.
But it's also more comfortable to wear.
I think so as well, yeah, for sure. I mean, the men's pants, almost all of them have elastic because I always design something I want to wear myself for menswear. But then for the women's, I think it looks good. You can wear them low waist, high waist, and that's one way to sort of get around the designing and also the feedback. And actually, on those alien pants, we have really good feedback because girls get this pant and it fits them. It stays tight because normally, they gape out in the back or there's not enough fabric in the front but when you have elastic, at least that's a good base. But in general, with feedback, you have to also remember that a lot of the time, I say the same about when people look on websites, like what people write. It's usually angry people that give feedback.
That's true.
Think about it yourself. How often do you buy something and be like, oh, let me go in and tell
Once
them?
I did.
Well, that's good. Well, that's more
Well,
than
if
most.
I'm really amazed, if the product is more than I expected, then I'll go and leave a review that is wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but mostly we write
Mostly,
when
yeah,
we...
when
But
something
it's-
is wrong.
Usually you're like triggered to write something when you're not happy. You know, so I think with feedback, you have to take it with a grain of salt. Then I got some negative feedback recently. So I reached out to the person who communicates on feedback, because it was somebody who reached out on social media. And she was like, do you want to see the pants that came back? She was like, first of all, they were broken. Second of all, they were full of cat hair.
Oh.
Third of all, we did refund her fully, so I don't know why she's upset. So you also,
Yeah, you have
you
to.
just never know, right? I'm very much about creating good service. I'm like, listen, if there's cat hair on it, then it is what it is. You can't like start arguing it. Just take them back and we'll figure it out. And I believe very much in just doing good service, return anything people don't want, and just grow the brand.
What is the favorite piece that you made? Is there any?
I love our Mona coat, which is the one with the kind of rounded sleeve, like a drop shoulder, very rounded sleeve, and it has like a cinched waist, and then it's super straight. I've done it like several seasons. It's not our best seller, like we don't sell a ton of coats just because I think people buy coats from kind of places they know in general, but we sell them. Like it's doing fine, and I love that coat actually. I think it's really fab. I think it looks great when you wear a coat that sits tight. It's sort of, it gives you something from the past when people used to dress in a different way with corsets and everything. So it cinches you in, and I always say to people if they buy it directly from me, or if I have a fitting, that like, you know, you can keep this on and like go to a gallery like this. Don't wear too much under, like wear this as your outfit. So that's probably one of my favorite pieces.
Do you ever meet people on the streets who wear in your clothes?
In the wild, yeah, more at night actually. I was at Zero Bond once, and there was a girl in full AKNVAS top to toe. And yeah, I was happy. And then I've seen one girl, which I actually kind of met because I walked up to her and told her, and now I kind of know her. I met her, it wasn't a fashion thing, but she was not from press, like she bought the outfit. And then I have friends that'll send me pictures. Yeah, and now I'm starting to see it even on like, you know, people who buy it without me knowing. So like if I watch like reality TV or something, people are wearing it, and I'm like, wait, what? It's fun.
Do you feel like this is a breaking point in your career? Like you see people, random people wearing it. It's not fashion anymore, like not just close circle.
Yeah. It's actually a good question, and it's part of the reason I wanted to start my own brand was because when I was doing Dior and the bigger brands, a lot of my friends would be like, I love it, but like, you know, I don't have $250,000 for a gown as much as I'd love to, you know. So my whole idea was to do something that felt very couture and elevated in details and make it approachable. So making the price point, I mean, I'm not saying that it's cheap clothes, but like it's somewhat approachable.
Well,
if somebody...
be cheap with the quality that you're giving, it cannot be cheap.
Exactly, yeah. But it is approachable, I think, for people who like work and like, so that was my idea, to really make something that people could wear. And that's part of my thing, is that like, I want to see people wearing it. And obviously now with social media, I see so many people tagging AKNVAS, and like, you know, not just people who do it for press. It's sort of like a lifestyle to show
So
this is
dream
what I'm
came
wearing.
true now.
Yeah, in many ways, yes, for sure. Also on TikTok, it's fun to see when people do their, what's it called, GMR, get ready with me, and they like, you know, the clothes sort of the club when they're wearing it. Like I see a lot of people wearing AKNVAS like that as well, which is great.
I remember when I was walking by Saks Fifth Avenue and I saw it in the windows, your designs. I was like, wow.
I can't even
felt
believe
so
it.
proud.
Yeah, I can't even believe it. We've had the windows 3 times with Saks. It's quite amazing. When they put it in the window, you're kind of, because you can't pay your way. I mean, I think you can pay your way, but we certainly don't do it. So it's only if they think it's worth it.
What is your next goal? Now the dream is fulfilled almost. people are wearing your clothes on the street, you're seeing it. What is next?
I mean, I think right now this year, actually, especially since I left Hervé Léger, I've decided to spend a year now to really get the foundation of the brand very strong. We are on some big platforms that are great places for shopping, like Forward and Saks and Shop Up, like big platforms. Right now, my focus is to get boutiques. So I feel like when people outside New York sort of go and shop, like I think it's nice when they go to boutiques and they have stylists that'll put together an outfit for them.
Like real retail.
Exactly, yeah. So we did a trip down to Houston and opened some boutique down there. I mean, it's not an AKNVAS boutique, it's just opening, like selling the line to a boutique. So we have now in Florida a few stores and in Texas, and we're opening.
In Denmark?
Not yet.
That's a good question, actually.
Not yet.
When?
I mean, I would love to do it. I think the way it's also, there's so many things you can go for, right? So in terms of, to finish the question, now I'm building the foundation. So we have big platforms. Now I want boutiques so people can get a personal relationship, like with seeing the clothes, trying it on. And then obviously the next step, I mean, I'm trying to push for the menswear, but I almost see the menswear a little bit as decoration on the whole thing. We have it on the website, it's available. It's limited how much is there. And I think to really do menswear, you have to go very commercial. And I'm not really interested in doing that. So the menswear kind of stays as it is, but then I guess the next step would be potentially to do some accessories.
I love your menswear. I also have a sweater.
Yeah.
I would wear
So beautiful.
Yeah. A lot of it is also unisex. Like even the sweater I wear now is unisex. Like this is just an extra large women's wear.
So you're not selling in Europe yet?
A little bit in London. We have a store and we are on websites that ship to Europe. But I kind of decided a little bit to focus on America first and get a good base here. I think it can go so fast. I mean, we sell in Asia in a few places, in Hong Kong. We're in Dubai and South Korea, we're in Seoul. Like we're in a few places little by little. But I think it's good to get the American base, figure that out, and then start expanding. Because the thing is, you also need to design a little bit different for different countries. Like in previous jobs I've had, we would do different fittings for different markets, yeah, kind of ethnic background, just like certain people, you know, just have different body types in different countries.
And style as well.
Style as well, yeah. But I think, I can't figure it out, but I think a lot of people that buy fashion from other countries, they'll buy it because they want it to look like what they see. Yeah. You know, like if they, you know, I'm trying to have a certain vibe and style in my collection, which I guess is something, a mix between Scandinavian upbringing and couture training. That's sort of what my vibe is supposed to be about. But I think if somebody in Australia sees a collection and they buy it, it's because they want that vibe, rather than me trying to design for them. But there are things like seasons. Like there's no point in doing, you know, winter coats in Australia in December because it's high summer. So there's that.
Or Dubai, ever.
Exactly, ever, yeah.
Unless they're traveling to New York from Dubai.
Then
kind of thing, yeah.
You can get it here, probably. Christian, is there any projects that went bad and you reject of doing something? And
let me think. Well, there are things I've learned for sure. I haven't had any, I mean, I've had major retailers not paying me very big amount of money. Like basically my main client, when things started rolling, just suddenly didn't pay me at all. And
so
we
that's
did the
in your business as well as in modeling.
Yeah. Just like huge, definitely my biggest financial loss was to like trust payments and stuff like that would come in, because I started hearing rumors that they were going bankrupt. And then there's this thing in America where it's like, oh, I went bankrupt, so I'm not going to pay anybody. It's like, okay, but, you know, and they wouldn't send the product back, and it was selling because the website was still running. So I lost like a huge amount of money, for sure the biggest financial loss I've had in my life. So I regret not being more strict with these things. And then, so you learn from that. And that's like,
a very expensive lesson.
Oh, and also it was over 3 seasons and it was my biggest client. So it was like, that's really hurt the company. But that I've learned from. So that was definitely a mistake to believe in them. And then the other thing I've really learned by doing it myself is how involved I have to be in the sale through. So I thought that like, oh, if you sell to, I don't want to say any names of stores, but like this store, then it's their problem. But if it doesn't sell through, yeah, it is your problem. They'll be like, well, there must be fit issues if it's not selling. And I'm like, well, you saw the fit, you came for the appointment. But like, that's something I've learned, how involved you have to be until the very end. But I don't mind it. It's just a lot of like going to the stores, training the teams, meeting with like private clients that they like to sell a lot to and doing all these things. I like doing it, but it's something I've definitely learned.
What is the easiest and the hardest part in the whole process?
Right. The easiest is probably
Sketching.
You know what's very easy for me, which comes very natural to me, is if I'm taking a flight from Europe to New York and I just put on some music or a film in the background and to just sit and sketch. That I can, when I land in JFK, I have a ton of sketches. And I sketch, I mean, I used to even sketch on paper on the plane. It just, you kind of partly for sustainability reasons, I'm like, I'll just sketch on the iPad. I like things old school, but you know. But sitting there sketching goes really easy for me. I can sketch for hours and hours and hours, and I can just continue. It's very easy. I think the hardest part is maybe, or like what I need to really work hard on is definitely production fittings, making sure that everything, what we talked about in the beginning, that like when people do things for you that are not in your office, you have to somehow check it and see it. And I have an excellent production manager, but we still need to check everything to make sure the product is good. That's a lot of work. And then I think the hard part is just sometimes, you know, when you build up the runway, it's very difficult to get answers on anything. Like, you know, a location for your show, like it takes a long time before they'll give you a quote or an idea. So even if my vision is clear on what I'm trying to do with the show, there's so many people who needs to confirm like what they want to do. And, you know, yeah, even if I wanted to do a show in this space, like finding the right person, how can they walk around? Like that's really tough getting all that together.
Production.
Yeah.
How do you, and people you're working with, you constantly working with the same people, or you like meet new ones and always changing?
It's a mix. It's definitely not always changing. I like to be, I think I'm quite faithful to the people like I work with, that I work with them again and again. But I also think when it's fashion, you have to sometimes also remember things needs to feel new and fresh all the time. And it's not because the person who may be doing things a lot with you is not good, but everyone has a certain hand. So you have to find a way that things feel very AKNVAS, but it also needs to feel new. There needs to be a reason to come back to the brand, and there needs to be a reason to write about it and pull it for celebrities or buy it. You know, it has to feel new. So it's a balance between, I work with people I trust and I try to support the same people as much as I can, but I also need to remember that the main priority has to be to get the brand running and keep going and stay modern and new. So if you get too stuck in the old way of doing it, you lack modernity sometimes.
So it sounds like the whole life is your brand and design process from the beginning to the end. But what do you do in your free time? Do you have it now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm married here in New York now, so whenever I can just be home and relax, I kind of love doing that. When I was doing the 2 brands at the same time, I didn't go out much because it was just, I had a lot of work and I was very busy. But what do? We try to travel as much as we can. I go to Denmark. My goal is to go 4 times a year. So that's like a priority. And I did it this year, actually. Yeah, my parents had like a big anniversary. I went home for the summer. I went home for a birthday in November, and now I'm going home for Christmas. So for me, it's inspiring and refreshing to travel. And Kasper and I, we also travel a lot. Like we go on a lot of trips.
Where do you see yourself in 10, 15 years from now?
Oh, I hope, ideally, like that I continue doing AKNVAS, but I want to spend more time in Europe. So I have my apartment in Paris, and I would love to find a rhythm, I just don't really know how to, where I would go to Paris and do a lot of the creative, inspiring work from my apartment there, and really sort of be in Paris. And then I feel like that's my true environment somehow, and then do the business from America.
Yeah, that's kind of a perfect balance.
But I would love to continue. A lot of people are asking me, oh, but maybe you'll get one of the big houses now. I mean, I'm open to that idea, but it's not something I'm pushing for. Like I don't reach out to the headhunters a lot.
Is there anyone out there who you would want to work for or with? Brand?
Yeah.
Yes, you have some.
There's a few houses that I personally think I would be ideal for, but sometimes it's better not to say the names, because if somebody has left a position recently or these kind of things, you don't want to say that you could do better than them. But there are definitely certain houses that I could see myself in, and there are also certain houses I would say no to immediately.
Do you see them as something that will elevate your work, you will learn more, or is just the style and the vibe that you feel?
I feel like certain houses is...
Why? Why those particular houses are your...
Well, if it's a house with a heritage, then you can see whether you feel you correspond to a certain heritage. Like that has something to do with what you do. Like, you know, there are certain brands, for example, speaking of colors to begin with, there are certain brands that almost do everything black and very kind of dark, not sad, but like dark environment and everything. I don't feel like I would really belong in those houses necessarily, but there are certain houses that I've seen that I really like how they do things. But in terms of whether it would elevate me, I hate to say this, but this is the kind of thing you learn as you grow older. It's all about whether or not they have budget. Because not that the budget needs to go into my salary, but if you can afford to surround yourself with all the people you really want to, life just gets a lot easier. Because you get the right inputs. And if I'm like talking earlier about show location and all this stuff, if you have a team that just sorts this out and you don't need to deal with budget or whether you can afford to do it, whether it's just coming up with ideas. Like if you get to the stage where it's like, here are all the locations that we think would work for you because we know you, then you just go in and you choose from the best. Whereas the level I'm at right now, I need to figure out, you know, where can I do a show? Like what are the, you know, is this a legal place to do it? And, you know, so I think a lot of it, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but it has to do with budget. If you're in a house with good money, it's easier to be very creative.
So when Christian was this boy in London, just, you know, learning, and Christian today, do you think that you fulfill your dream of that young Christian? Or there is still time?
I mean, I definitely don't have many regrets. So I feel like I'm doing what I always wanted to do. But I can't really remember that I was dreaming about one thing in particular. I just really wanted to work in fashion. I mean, I know I really wanted to work for John Galliano, and I did that. And I really wanted to work for Christian Lacroix. And I interned with him for a few months, working very close with him actually, and that was amazing. So I wish I'd worked for Vivienne Westwood. That was like one of my big dreams as well. But yeah, I feel like I'm definitely doing what I was dreaming to do. But I also think when you're younger, you think things are different. You know, it's like with so many jobs, it's like, you know, people think acting, for example, is one thing, but when you start studying, you realize what it's really about and like how, you know, it looks so glamorous and special. I mean, I'm doing what I want to do and I'm happy I can do it.
Would you do this job even if you never get paid for it? Would you still do it?
AKNVAS, yeah, I think so, yeah. well, that's the current situation. I don't put like a big salary on myself from the brand. So the thing is, I am doing it because I want to do it. Yeah, and it's a passion. I love doing it. Right now, my focus is everything we earn goes back into the company. So the answer is yes.
What would you tell to that young Christian right now?
It is really about focus. Like, I know a lot of people say it, but it really is true. Like, focus on what you really want to do in life and at least try your best to get there somehow. You know, like that is what life is about. You have to sort of have a goal and what is it I want to do and how can I get there, and just keep trying.
And what would you tell someone who dreams about a career like yours, like some pre-advices?
I think it's really good to get if you want to do like fashion, right? Definitely, I think it's good to get the basis done before you start. I mean, I'm very happy that I learned pattern making and classic drawing before I did fashion, because fashion can be so many things. And I feel like I have a few foundations knowing about silhouette and cut that teaches you a lot, I think. So definitely take time to study properly. And then, to be honest, even though everyone says it is really about working hard and like believing, like you have to like keep doing it and be good at it.
To stand out.
Yeah. And it is hard work. I think when we do these sort of artistic sort of jobs, whether it's not just fashion, but like you have to do it because you want to do it as well. And then, you know, hopefully, you know, you make money on it and things go well. But like, even if you just do it and you enjoy it, I mean, I think I was really living my dreams when I was interning in Paris, because that was when my career suddenly took such a big step up.
Were you aware of that at that particular moment?
I think so. And I definitely look back at it as being like really special times because I didn't know anything about fashion. Like, I was in contact with, you know, some people from church who had something to do with fashion, but nothing international, nobody shipping international, or like, it was very small. And for me, it was just like, I'm just gonna try and go for it. Even when I got into Lacroix, they never wanted, like, I contacted Lacroix when I'd finished school. And they said, yeah, we have one space for an intern. And then I came for the interview and they were like, I couldn't really get the papers right from London. It's called Convention de Stage, which is basically just papers saying that you're still a student. So you're there to learn, you're not there for work. So that, you know, so you're not considered an employee as such. Or I think that's the reason. And my school couldn't really get these papers right for me. So I'd shown my book to the design director at the time, not to Mr. Lacroix. And he liked it, but he was also like, well, you can't speak French, so I don't really see how you can intern. And I was like, well, I can try. And then at the end of it, I got the paper sorted out somehow. I think I bought like a travel insurance so that I had insurance, so they were not responsible of me. And then I got my school to sign some papers. And then I went back literally I think I went in at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I sat in the reception with my portfolio until the guy I had interviewed at Lacroix, really fab actually. And I sat there until the guy I had interviewed came by, and he was like, why are you here? And I was like, no, I have everything ready. Like, I'm ready to start interning. And he's like, but we took somebody else on. Like, the job it's not there. Like, there's no reason for you to sit here. And I was like, no, you have to show Mr. Lacroix my book. I really want him to see my book. And I was like, I'll do anything. And I think he was intrigued by the fact that I was trying so hard. But I remember I sat in a room waiting, like some dark office, for like 3 hours that morning. And I just sat there with my book like this. And he had said to me, okay, I'll show your book to Mr. Lacroix if he wants to see it. And if he doesn't want you to be here, then we never want to see you again. I was like, okay. So he looked at my book, and he was very charming, but very French, you know, and a little bit snobby, but like, you know. So he came back, he went in, he took my book, he showed it to Mr. Lacroix, and then he came back with like a lifted eyebrow on one side and said to me, so as I told you, you can't be an intern because you can't speak French. And I almost wanted to say, yes, I understand that part. It has been repeated. Is that an echo? Or, I was like, oh, really? And he was like, but Mr. Lacroix really likes your work. So he wants you to just come in and make ideas for him in the studio. But you can't be a real intern. I was like, I'll take it. So basically for 2 months, I just made ideas for the couture show according to his vibe and inspiration. And I would just do like embroideries a lot, or like surface decoration. So I would like pleat and fold and do bows and put beads on and all this stuff. And then I showed my ideas to Mr. Lacroix and he would pick. And then they basically said, okay, well, can you do 10 yards of hand embroidery? I'd be like, okay.
Did you learn French?
Yeah, now I speak fluent French.
But at that moment, were you working on your French?
I don't remember. Probably, yeah. Yeah, because I did evening classes. But basically, I ended up embroidering all the pieces that walked the runway. And that way, that was really, yeah, but that was what I'd also done a bit at Dior, but not as extreme. Like
was Lacroix before Dior or after?
After. It was when I'd finished school. But I did all these hand embroideries. So all these pieces were suddenly walking the runway on the top girls.
Yours.
So I got all these amazing things in my portfolio with sort of, so when I finished there, I had all these amazing things in my book from both Galliano and Lacroix. And that was when I started at Nina Ricci.
And then you went to work with
Then
Dior.
I actually got headhunted to Dior at the end of it. So Nina Ricci is on Avenue Montaigne in front of L'Avenue. And then Dior was literally across the street. So that was like my hood. Very nice.
Very nice. Not bad.
Yeah.
What I wanted to say is, you were saying it's a hard work, It's obvious from your story that it's not just hard work, it's your confidence. Do you think you built that now with the time distance, or you were just crazy, or you were just super confident, but crazy in a positive way, I mean? Because how many people would, you know, oh, I'll sit here 3 hours, he will see me, you know, it's a little bit not normal.
I mean, it sounds a little obnoxious, but I think I was just very confident. Because sometimes I shouldn't be saying it, but I don't even think I was that good always. I think I learned a lot throughout the way, like from just like trying. But I think I am quite confident, and like, I think I've just taken a lot of chances.
Is that your superpower, maybe?
Maybe, yeah, it's a little superpower. I think I'm confident, and I sort of just dare to do things. Because even when I was interviewing to get into design school, I also just like called up the head of the school. And I was like, I need to come and see you. I'm in London now. I really want to show you. She's like, okay, but that's like week out that I have an appointment. And I called her up 3 times until she would do an interview with me.
But this is a great advice. I mean,
is.
You're going for your dream, and you're not taking no for answer, and you're knocking on every door you think it would lead you to the destination where you want to be.
But when I say hard work, it's not sort of like a cliche work. It's just about, for me to do a whole collection with a small team like I do now, I just have to work a lot because I need to design into all the categories.
Yeah, but to get to this point is actually harder work.
Yeah.
Because now you have all these tools.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that was the hardest part, to get all this.
I feel like the more you get in, there's never probably a point when you feel, okay, now it's easy. It's like evolving.
Yeah, because you're putting more on yourself.
Another level, yeah.
Yeah, you see, now he's doing business part of the whole thing, you know. And that's how great minds actually grow. Like, not stopping. It's a journey. It's not the final destination. It's the whole journey that brings you.
And do you feel a pressure to each season make it as good?
Make it better. Yes.
I mean, not less good than you did before, and you have to be better and better and better and better.
Like extremely, it's one of the almost uncomfortable things that like I feel like I need to make it more and more and more and more. Which is, it's interesting because, you know, you also get better the more you learn in life, the more you can do, right? but I definitely feel a lot of pressure that it needs to be better and better and better every season, or like new. But for me to make it new, it's sort of like I won't make something new that's like less good. So if I make something new, it needs to be better than the way I did it before. So like you have different categories, right?
Fighting with yourself actually all the time.
A lot. And
It's
that's
an
when I say
internal
it.
battle.
Yeah, and it's like, but also like if I'm doing this, I want it to be good. So it's not a negative thing, the hard work, but like I need to think, how can I make this category, like for example, knitwear. Now it's fall I'm working on, like there's going to be knitwear in the collections. Like how can I do things that look very AKNVAS, where some of the stitches have something that I'm already doing, so it's recognizable. But still you want it to feel new. So it needs to be better than what I just did. You know, it needs to be like a level up, like a nice quality, or quality that feels relevant now. Like sometimes, not that I follow trends as such, you know, like I don't see myself as being like following what needs to be, but you still sense certain things are happening in fashion that you want to be part of that movement. So you figure out like if, you know, this is trending or like this feels relevant to you, how can I make that into something? So there's that pressure all the time to be better and better and better and better. But I don't mind it. It's just, it's a lot.
Keeps you moving.
Yeah, very.
So working on new collection, is there any other project that is coming up that you can
Well,
tell
as
us
I said, we're working, like, I mean, my next thing is just working towards a show. And
In February.
then in February, yeah, which is still very unsure what I'm doing. It's again the whole thing I said, it's difficult to get answers because you can...
The show is part of New York Fashion Week?
Yeah. We're on the official calendar, but that doesn't mean that it happens for you. You still need to make it happen, and location and every like for some reason this industry, people like doing things late, and I'm actually quite good at getting started early. Like I could decide on locations if I had the options now and just work towards them and be like, this is what I believe I want to do. But for some reason, I mean, actually the models is almost one of the worst part, getting the girls in for casting and fittings. And everybody, like if I try to do casting 2 weeks in advance, they're like, why are you emailing now? You know, the girls are not in town yet. And I'm
Who
like,
are you?
well, are some of them in town? Because I actually don't have the same atelier I had at Dior. So I need to, you know, advance on making things perfect and everything. I'm pretty good at making decisions. I don't sit until the last minute to decide. Like I make decisions all the time. Like all this, every day that I'm in the office, I make decisions. Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. But I think this industry, because a lot of the brands, the big brands have a lot of money. So you have the luxury of doing it all last minute.
They can pay
Because, you know,
for
when you
that
have
stuff,
to
yeah.
decide. That means smaller brands like me, like we kind of just need to go on that rhythm because that's how things are. But for things, so show is the next thing coming up to answer your question. And then, I mean, I really want to work into accessories as well.
So we're looking forward. Vlada is walking down.
My favorite. Vlada has the best walk of her generation.
I know.
I seriously, you pop
That's
up
what
on
she's.
my
Yeah,
TikTok so often.
she's so popular on TikTok and Instagram right now.
Apparently.
Yes. No, apparently.
20
the
years
survey
after.
What do you mean? 20 years ago, you were walking all the shows, like 90 shows in a season. You were popular. Yeah, well.
No, but
different
it's
time,
funny
but-
that the new generation finds that.
Yeah, and like I saw a couple of girls like trying to, you know, imitate and learn that. So it's like a significant impact to models now. And I think that's amazing that they look back to 20 years ago, not just like 2 weeks ago. I think that's amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So,
Well, Christian, thank you so much. And we have a game.
yeah. Yeah.
It was very
I almost
inspiring
forgot.
to listen to you.
So this is a very hard game. I don't know if you're gonna be able to answer the question.
Important question is coffee or tea?
Coffee.
New York or Paris?
Paris.
Sunrise or sundown?
Sundown.
Giraffe or parrot?
Giraffe.
Book or movie?
Movie, unfortunately.
Black and white or color?
Color.
Cake or burger?
Cake.
Creative or risky?
Risky.
Fall or spring collection?
Fall.
Heels or sneakers?
Heels.
Hat or scarf?
Hat.
Fluffy or silky?
Fluffy.
Paris or London?
Paris.
Glossy or matte?
Matte.
Leather or lace?
Lace.
Casting or fitting?
Fitting.
Very hard. Thank you so much for
Thank you,
coming.
Christian.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you
and
for taking the time.
we're looking forward to your new collection and all your dreams coming true. Thank you for watching, and follow Christian on his Instagram and AKNVAS. We will tag everything. Anna will do it for us.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anna.